I am Kaye Cacharo and I will be the one to discuss the first priority areas and programs under the AANR agenda, which is crops. Crops are plants or plant products that can be grown and harvested for profit or the food. Crops are divided into six categories based on their intended use, such as food, feed, fiber, oil, ornamental, and industrial crops. Under crops in AANR, we have first the germplasm evaluation, conservation, utilization, and management. Second, the varietal improvement and selection. And third, the production of good quality seeds and planting material. Fourth, the cultural management practices. Fifth, the crop production system research. And the last one is the post-harvest processing and product development. First is germplasm evaluation. This is the agronomic description of the material in a gene bank for traits that are generally important to breeders and researchers in crop improvement. They evaluate it with purpose to improve crops by utilizing, collecting, and careful preservation and protection to maintain our biological diversity as well in food security. Second is the varietal improvement and selection. This is to know which the varieties perform well and select the good quality products that meets the farmer's expectation in the context of its marketability. Third one is the production of good quality seeds and planting material. Under this, number 1, the development optimization of the seed production protocols. Second, the establishment of sustainable seed system. Next is the cultural management practices. Under this, we have the soil health, nutrient, and water management. Second, the development of biofertilizers and soil fertility enhancers. Third, the development of eco-friendly pest and disease management and control strategies. Fourth is the development of crop disease diagnostic kits or the techniques and the disease management protocols. And the last one is the organic agriculture. Next, we have the crop production system research. These are the production activities for smart farming approaches. Second, this off-season production and cultivation. Third, the development of climate-resilient technologies. And the last is decision support system. So these are the systems that provide needed information on the development of improved crop production system, irrigation technology, agrochemical application, technology managing herbicide resistance, and addressing soil and water quality issues. And the last one is the post-harvest processing and product development. Post-harvest is the stage of the crop production immediately following harvest. This is including the processing for cooling, cleaning, sorting, and packing. These treatments largely determine the final quality, whether the crop is sold for fresh consumption or used as an ingredient in a processed food product.
So the next one is livestock. Livestock is a breed development and genetic improvement for meat, dairy, and draft. Why is it called livestock? The animals we will found on a farm are collectively called livestock. The word comes from the sense of stock that means supply for future use or sum of money from the 1500s, and this word was also used to mean as movable property of a farm. Livestock also includes the reproductive biotechniques for priority livestock species, the nutrition, feeds, and the feeding system. Also, the conservation and improvement of native animals, vaccine, biologics, and diagnostics development, and the detection of chemical residues and antimicrobial resistance, plus the production and management decision. And the next one is aquatic. Aquatic is the application of genomics in the study of diseases of aquatic species, improving fish resistance to climate change, molecular phylogenetics, and population genetics. The word aquatic comes from the Latin word aqua, which means water. Its adjective also describes something that takes place in water. Aquatic is basically related to water. Aquatics includes the new cultivable species for culture development and refinement of culture systems, which includes the broodstock management, hatchery, nursery, and grow out. Also the fish health, disease diagnostics, disease management, and of course the nutrition, feeds, and feeding systems, plus the post-harvest handling, processing, and the new product development. Also the mechanization and automated systems for feeding, water, and culture management and post-production. Also the fish kill warning, mitigation, systems, and environmental management for sustainable aquaculture, plus the management of fisheries.
So, hello everyone, I'm Desiree Imperial, and today I'll be going to discuss the topic of forestry. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, forestry is the science and practice of managing, conserving, using, repairing, and creating forested and woodland areas. The goal of forestry is to maintain the forest supply in healthy conditions for environmental and human concerns. Moreover, forestry leans heavily on biology, chemistry, and mathematics. It is not just about trees because forestry takes into account soil health, climate, the large ecosystem surrounding and embedded in the forests. And then forestry touches numerous industries including agriculture, timber supply chains, recreations, water management, erosion control, wildlife preservation, conservation of natural resources, and much more. Foresters can work in everything from ecology and preservation of green space to helping industry find proper ways of sustainable forests. And then some forestry experts also focus on threats to forests or forest cycles such as fires or invasive insects that threaten the health of the trees. Now, we are going to talk about the forest types. So first, we have the tropical forest. This type of forest is generally spectacular over the plain region, except it is located in high altitude zone, and then the tropical forests are visible everywhere. Another one is the subtropical forest. Most of the trees are having broad leaf, generally visible and in the slopes of the Himalaya, within the altitude of 2,000 meters. And then the oak chestnuts are the common species. Another one is the temperate forest. So here, it mostly occur within the eastern Himalaya and peninsular plateaus. Between 1,000 to 1,500 meters altitude is favorable for the maximum growth of the vegetation. Then the major species are laurel, oak, and then chestnut. And the last one is the alpine forest. In the snow-capped mountain of sub-Himalaya, though vegetation is rare, some meadows and grasslands exist. So those are the types of forests. So the following agenda are in support of the government's Enhanced National Greening Program or ENGP. So first, we have the development and sustainable management practices. Another one is the development of high-yielding varieties, which is the HYVS of priority timber species with superior traits. Another one again is the production protocols for the propagation of quality timber and non-timber forest planting materials. And then the development of sustainable harvesting and post-harvest techniques or technologies and marketing strategies for timber and non-timber forests or species and products.
The natural resources and environment, which generally describe all the elements available in nature that are used or can be used in the economic system. First is sustainable utilization, conservation and management of diversity in terrestrial, forestry, and marine ecosystems. So, protected and restored ecosystems and biodiversity, they support and can help mitigate climate change and provide increased resilience in the face of increased human pressures and mounting disasters. So having a healthy ecosystem also produces multiple benefits for all communities like clean air, water, food, raw materials, and medicines, to name a few. So these areas can play a critical role in achieving sustainable development if they are effectively managed and strategically located. Second is sustainable watershed management and utilization. So healthy ecosystems underpin the delivery of water supplies, water quality, and guard against water-related hazards and disasters. So for example, wetlands play an appreciable role in surface, subsurface, and groundwater storage, as well as preserving dry season river flows and reducing the risk of flooding in wet seasons. So they also serve to retain, process, and dilute wastes and other pollutants, helping maintain water quality. So these services typically have extremely high economic value for downstream water users and helping prolong the lifetime and productivity of water infrastructure such as reservoirs, supply facilities, irrigation schemes, and hydropower dams. So third is the management and rehabilitation problem degrades and pollutes agricultural soil through remediation. So soil contamination, also known as soil pollution. So it is caused by the presence of man-made chemicals in the natural soil environment. So the solution to this problem in soil contamination is soil remediation. So soil remediation is a way of purifying and revitalizing the soil. So it is the process of removing contaminants in order to protect both the health of the population and the environment. So in short, the goal of the process is to restore the soil to its natural pollution-free state. So through soil remediation, hazardous chemicals and hydrocarbons are removed from the earth, so protecting the health of the environment and the population. Fourth is the development of high-value products from agriculture and forest waste. So making high-value products from agri-waste is very important. So one of the example products is the healthy skincare products from apples. So these are high-value products that could be first to market, but it depends on your process and how you will partner with other companies to be widespread your products. But all of this food waste contains compounds that have high-value potential applications. Some can act as probiotics or antioxidants. Some have anti-inflammatory or antimicrobial properties. So others, in particular, carbohydrates, so provide mechanical strength and texturizing properties in food, lubricants, cosmetics, and structural materials. So the focus on applied product development and its web of local, national, and international partners who create spin-off companies and jobs to commercialize new, high-value products from existing waste streams. So this leads to success for your products. Fifth is the strategies decision management tools for climate change resilient environment. So having these strategies for climate change is very necessary to help communities or us prepare for the health effects of climate change. So part of this effort involves incorporating complex atmospheric data and both short and long-range climate projections into public health planning and response activities. So combining atmospheric data and projections with epidemiologic analysis allows health officials to more effectively anticipate, prepare for, and respond to a range of climate-sensitive health impacts. 6 is the resource and ecosystem assessment and monitoring. So many complex and interlinked trends, including global population growth and climate change, will put increasing pressure on how much of the world's natural resources which prop up the global economy. So the need for regular and accurate monitoring of these resources has increased in parallel with rising global awareness and acknowledgement of the urgent need for innovative, measurable pathways to sustainable development and consumption. So 7 is the habitat management for fishery and ecosystem sustainability. So this topic is part of a broader ecosystem-based management approach that addresses all environmental, ecological, and anthropogenic, including fisheries, impacts on an ecosystem and takes into account the interconnectedness and interdependence of various components of an ecosystem. So, ecosystem based fisheries management is an approach that tries to manage an ecosystem structure and function and nurtures and cultivates ecosystem services for humanity. So its goal is to sustain healthy marine ecosystems and the fisheries they support, whether or not goods and services enter markets. So indeed, for main ecosystem services, markets simply do not exist. So fisheries as a provisioning ecosystem service represent vital components of developed and developing economies, providing income and employment in addition to food and nutrition. So next is the marine environmental management. So this is the vital resource for life on Earth. So marine ecosystems perform a number of key environmental functions. So they regulate the climate, prevent erosion, accumulate and distribute solar energy, absorb, absorb carbon dioxide, and maintain biological control. So the conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity in marine and coastal agriculture activities in the ecosystem is a key aspect as, as the aspect of sustainable development. And lastly is the innovative management system for unique landscape and ecosystem. So an innovation ecosystem includes universities, government, corporations, startup accelerators, venture capitalists, private investors, foundations, entrepreneurs, mentors, and the media were made up of different actors, relationships, and resources who all play a role in taking a great idea to transformative impact at scale. So by managing and encouraging innovation, you can discover new products, reduce cost, and enhance your development process significantly. So organizing that don't embrace innovation management also bringing outdated solution to their market. So this limits your ability to stay ahead of the competition.
So now we have climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction. Now, these are strategies that development workers in the country have been pursuing in response to the problems posed by disaster risk and climate change impacts, meaning they can help us in solving the challenges we faced easily. Now, climate change impacts, such as those that come in the form of stronger and more frequent typhoons, are increasing natural hazards in many areas of the Philippines that are already highly prone to multiple disasters because of their location on both the typhoon path and earthquake rather, and also volcanic belt. Given the increasing vulnerability of many communities, the need for disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation has become more urgent. It will not only save lives, but also protect assets and livelihoods. Now we have here climate change. Climate change poses a real threat to farmers around the world. Agriculture is highly dependent on good weather, including high and low temperatures, rainfall, wind, intensity, and many other variables. The good news is that farmers can adapt. Now, here are some selections of sustainable ways farmers can produce more food and adapt to climate change at the same time. The first one is integrate crop, livestock, forestry systems. The more diverse an agricultural system, the greater its ability on average to adapt to climate change. So instead of focusing the farm on one kind of production like crops or livestock or forestry, integrated systems combine them into one or four combination. Examples are crops and livestock, crops rather, and forestry, livestock and forestry, or crops, livestock, and forestry. Now, the next one is rehabilitate degraded pastures. The degraded land are prone to erosion and so retain less water. They also have less nutritious gas for feeding animals and contribute to low productivity livestock production. Rehabilitation of pasture can contribute to new, more sustainable ways of raising animals. This combines grazing with trees to improve the health of the soil and the well-being of the animals while mitigating carbon emissions. The next is disaster risk reduction. It aims at preventing new and reducing existing disaster risk and managing residual risk, all of which contributes to strengthening resilience and therefore to the achievement of sustainable development. So, to achieve these outcomes, disaster risk reduction encompasses a number of distinctive activities, including disaster risk prevention, risk mitigation, and preparedness. In the aftermath of disasters, mitigation and preparedness, disaster risk reduction activities support response and recovery interventions because DRR, short for disaster risk reduction, also involves in building a wider understanding of risk and vulnerabilities through assessment, awareness, raising campaigns, and information management. In the agriculture sectors, disaster risk reduction can also involve using risk analysis and weather alerts to help inform farm management. So these actions are combined with good agricultural practices and technologies that increase the resilience of the farming system against common stresses and shocks, including those associated with climate change. So, technology transfer is the movement of data, designs, and intervention, materials, software, and also technical knowledge or trade secrets from one organization to another or from one purpose to another. So the technology transfer in agriculture is that it can change and adapt into improved production techniques that are part of important steps in the development process of every agricultural or farmers. To make improvements in the rice sector, agricultural technology transfer is necessary. So these include individual or household extension method, group method, and mass media method.
Socioeconomics and policy research. Socioeconomics and policy research concerned with the way societies across the world meet human needs for security, education, work, health, and well-being. Socioeconomics and policy addresses how states and societies respond to global challenges of social, demographic, and economic change, and of poverty, migration, and globalization. Socioeconomics and policy analyzes the different roles of national governments, the family, civil society, the market, and international organizations in providing services and support across the life course from childhood to old age. These services and support include child and family support, schooling and education, housing and neighborhood renewal, income maintenance and poverty reduction, unemployment support and training, pensions, health, and social care. Social policy aims to identify and find ways of reducing inequalities in access to services and support between social groups defined by socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity, migration status, gender, sexual orientation, disability and age, and between countries. There are 6 agendas of socioeconomics and policy research. The first one is continuing review of existing policies affecting the AANR sectors. The second one is policy research on natural resources or environment-related issues, agricultural trade, supply chain or value chain related issues, and R&D governance, compliance to standards across the value chain. The third one is impact assessment of technologies, ANR programs and projects. The fourth one is socioeconomic studies on production and marketing efficiencies, role of social institutions in technology adoption, labor migration, development of social enterprise models, gender and development. The fifth one is agriculture and resource economic studies including market research, agrarian or asset reform, environmental evaluation, economics of scale or collective farming. And the last one or the sixth one is policy studies on global competitiveness of Philippines ANR sectors. That's all about the third sector. I hope you learned something. Thank you for listening.